Thank you everyone for the joining for this meeting. I'm very happy to see you all. I'm sure you are very difficult time for everyone, and such a sort of occasion, or perhaps nowadays this sort of technology is a very great opportunity to use for our benefit. So today I want to make it to share with all of you about Tanen single form, and which is our common practice from beginners to advanced level. But same time, maybe it's a good chance to think about why time is necessary to do it. Of course, there is a exactly purpose, but on a usual occasion, we don't have enough time to chance to think about why time is important and benefit for us. So from this stage, I would like to explain to the meaning and purpose of Tanen practice. So Tanen is usually we start like a Tenchiken, Giwaken, or Byakurenken, whatever in advanced black belt is maybe Manji no Kata, or more variety source of time we have a chance to practice. But there is all training purpose is combined. Otherwise, just simple of exercise. So first of all, for everyone starting a Tenchiken, and what is the importance of this Tenchiken itself and meaning of Tenchiken? If you carefully to examine, for example, Tenchiken Daiichi, number 1, Dai-ni, number 2, Dai-san, 3, number 4, Dai-4. So up to each Tenchiken Daiichi, Dai-ni, Dai-san, Dai-4, there is a systematically to practice. For example, Tenchiken Daiichi is purely each action is divided. Each one for the Junzuki, Ichi, Ni, like this. So all separate count, separate action. So another word, as far as Tenchiken Daiichi is concerned, there is a clear technical action is required. And for example, if I start a little bit to the kamae, yes, and Daiichi is Ichi is mae chidoriashi. So I'm not stepping into sashikomi straight. Chidoriashi is here of the about 45 degrees angle of action to step in. Why this is a step to the chidoriashi instead of sashikomi straight attack? Which is perhaps most of the big basic form of Shorinji Kempo, tsuki, keri, is generally, I'm talking about, they are called to the mae chidoriashi. Of course, there is they call ushiro chidoriashi to the back step. But mae chidoriashi means always to the chidori, 45 degrees angle of the step in. Sorry, which is you are when you attack, most of the people you are only concerned how to hit to the target. In this case, how to hit the target to the Jordan, to the opponent of Jordan position. But person who is attacked is quite difficult concerning opponent has also always chance to hit your face or body. So another word, chidoriashi is chance to reduce for counter attack. If you attack straight, opponents also can do same thing, hit face or body, kick. So reduce of the risk is for not stepping straight. Yeah. If you make a step into straight, that means to the opponent, it's a very simple, just simply you can kick or punch. So my chidoriashi is always 45 degrees of the angle to step in. Remember, fist is almost like however your big fist, perhaps you can measure maybe less than 10 centimeters of the wide. So another word, if you can step in chidoriashi automatically to avoid this 10 centimeters of wrist. Not many people about 10 centimeters of the fist, but if a big fist, maybe. But if you move chidoriashi, automatically more than 10 centimeters to move away from your original face position to go. So that's enough. Not necessary to head swing. Just simply chidori means you are straight position to attack from side. And the best angle perhaps you can get mikazuki. That's why chidoriashi is always basic form of Kempo Goho technique. So first of all, chidoriashi jodanzuki, 1, 2, side view, 1. So after chidori, zen kusudachi on the front leg is quite deeply bent. And of course, knee not stay there, back foot, small step forward, mae yoseashi, pull to the forward, yoseashi, then full body turn, not from shoulder to start turn, from hip to start turning.
Apologies.
From hip.
Sensei, apologies. Would you be able to tilt your phone a bit more? We discussed this yesterday. Tilt it a bit more, otherwise people cannot see your hip. If you could just tilt it a little bit.
How about this?
If you the further back, this is better. People can see your hip now. Thank you, Sensei.
Around here? Okay. So this is my limit. So here, from here to go, after jodanzuki, then gyakuzuki chudan. Not from your shoulder to turning, start from here to start turning. So first 1, 2 is forward, and my sashikomiyashi, chidoriyashi to the jodanzuki. I'm not recommend just simply body is so static, each knee. I notice quite often to just like the each so straight knee. Perhaps my interpretation is not so body straight, more like a forward. But of course, Seichusen, center of the line, should not bend any situation. This is wrong form. So seijūsen have to be straight, but for quite heavy weight on the front leg, and naturally knee of the front leg is quite bent. So another word, each knee to the forward zenkutsu, quite big part of the weight on the front leg. Then some from here, 中段突き、外受け。After 中段逆突き、外受け。And 鍵突き together. 中段逆突き、外受け。And body spinning. Now that is 鍵突き。Side view. 中段逆突き、外受け、鍵突き。So, in that time, your 外受け hand is almost dead side of your mid. 3号、4号、3号、4号。That area. Fifth angle is the upper angle. Yes. Then, after the sun, 4、5、6 is change. 1、2、3 is the 前屈、前。Here. 4、後ろ寄せ足、front foot, pull back, and 反りに。Here. 後ろ寄せ足、反りに。Block, before block, you need 体さばき after from here. 寄せ足、and 反りに。So, pull back your upper part of the body, especially face and head, pull back. Quite big much. From here, block. Then to the block. Well, okay, not just standing there to block. Perhaps better impression if you change body motion is dramatically from zenkutsu when you offense time, attacking time. Second half, defending time, pull back. Also, big backward. So, face and body, as much as you can, so far away from opponent. This is first place. Tai sabaki, body motion first. Then to the block. In this case, okay. In this case, okay. Then go, 下受け。Backhand 下受け。Front hand is 内受け。So double block together. Lock, 払い受け外受け。順蹴り。Here, 払い受け外受け。順蹴り。開き下がって、一時我慢。Maybe this lock is small topics, which is after block here, which you start practice. Most of the people, 払い受け only, especially in Japan. Yeah, they practice to after here, 払い受け 順蹴り then it's okay. But my experiment with Japanese standard and harauke sotouke. So I checked with Kyohan, which is Sodoshin's original writing of the book, explanation of Kyohan. They are clearly mentioned, harauke, sotouke, both together. So, 1977, I have a chance to question to the Misaki Sensei, who is demonstrate at the Kyohan book. He himself to picture harauke, sotouke, but he didn't also showing to the in the Kyohan part harauke, sotouke together, only harauke. So I questioned to Misaki Sensei, Sensei, is that only harauke is correct? And Jungeri, because the book itself describes harauke, sotouke together. But your action of book picture is only harauke and Jungeri. That's why majority of Japanese kenshi is only harauke and Jungeri. Which one is correct? My question is, which one is correct? Harauke, Jungeri, or harauke, sotouke is correct? Because he is still, if you see the book, the Kyohan itself, Misaki Sensei is only harauke and Jungeri. So, but his answer is necessary to harauke and sotouke together. Another word, book describe harauke, sotouke together. This is answer correct. Not only harauke and Jungeri. So my question to Misaki Sensei was very lucky because he was still home dojo's top man, and he was teaching there. So very, very lucky situation. But same time, from this my experience, he said to me, any senior masters cannot change original Sodoshin describe or teachings. So that's why, since I have that experience, my explanation is always regarded by Kyohan interpretation. Of course, I have a lot of chance to study lot of great masters, and this different maybe secret aspect from those each masters. But when I demonstrate or explanation, or even now we are making for the new technical videos, I try to demonstrate as much as close to Kyohan interpretation. Then, if I have a chance to explain, this is maybe I have learned or I have developed myself to this idea is maybe work for myself or better result. I try to explain separately. Kyohan interpretation is that Kyohan is no one can change. Another word maybe for untouchable area. But of course, it is important for us. This is Kyohan's core part of technique and explanation. So I'm quite keep original idea, and also during my practice experience, I'm trying to, I study from so just a master's or just another sensei to give me this sort of idea or interpretation. I try to introduce, but Kyohan is like that. That's why Tenchiken Daiichi is after Harai, Uchiuke, Sotouke, Uchiuke, Shitauke, Shi, Go, Rok, Harai, Sotouke is to my instruction is always like that. So after Tenchiken Daiichi is next Tenchiken Daini. Anything question for Daiichi itself?
Sensei, just in terms of time, we are coming up to this sort of, we had discussed the 25-30 minute mark. Given that we are going to either cut out or have to restart the line, I would maybe suggest we move into question and answers or any question. I've seen a few questions here. I have one myself. I thought maybe it would be good you've given a lot of principles, and FYI, we are recording all these sessions. I didn't mention that earlier. We are recording all of these. We are collating them, and we are uploading that to the BSKF members page, which Ben Perkins, who is on the line here as well, is organizing, so people can re-watch some of these details. And maybe I think it would be better, instead of adding more content right now, just to answer a few questions of Kenshi and do a next step in another session, possibly. I had an initial question, for example, that you have mentioned yourself that you have studied the tenshikens from different masters and senseis. I am curious to know, how did they evolve? Was it always prescribed exactly this way? Did Doshinso give 1 to 6, or did you see them evolve over time as well? I was quite curious. And why these specific movements? Why are we doing exactly these movements and not others, and why isn't it longer? So a bit of the history of the tenshikens, because this is something you will be very best placed to answer, given you've studied with Kaiso directly. So the history of it, and why not more or not different ones? So that's a bit a wide question, but a lot of the history would be quite interesting to Kenshi.
Yeah, even for when I study from home dojo, when I went to there, So Doshin himself is not demonstrated for this technique. And always his top assistant, most of the person in Japan, they knew about, maybe they already died, but Misaki Sensei or Nakano Sensei was there. My traveling to Japan was 77, was Misaki Sensei was Hombu Dojo master. So he himself demonstrated in a book, and so Doshin's Kyohan book. So that's why I have a chance to ask him, because his picture and word of Sodoshin is different, Harayuke or Harayuke Sotouke. So that's why my question is quite simple question. Which one I can follow? I can explain to Kenshi. So his answer is yes, Harayuke Sotouke is correct. That is my first experience or question to the difference between Kyohan interpretation or variety source of information. There is sometimes gap between Kyohan and those great masters techniques. Their great masters, they develop their own form and own styles. during their practice or instruction, maybe they discover very suitable way of individuals for himself. But is that majority of people or universally to the work or benefit? Perhaps a little bit, separate ideas. So if every master to say this is correct, this one is correct, then all confused. For practitioners, it's the most difficult. Which one is correct? That great master said this, another master said that. So I decided, and simply to the Misaki Sensei's advice, Kyohan is always correct. So if you confuse, back to Kyohan. So that's why I'm, after that, my question to the Misaki Sensei himself, I have no change from my stance. So, Daiichi is like this. But same time, I can mention to this from Tenchiken Daiichi. Please realize just only delivery tsuki or carry on very static position, very good balance of motion is important. But same time, please make sure, especially offensive motion, Zenkutsu dachi, Zenkutsu, yeah, and Zenkutsu, Zenkutsu. This is Heima dachi, yeah, Heima dachi, quite flat. Heima is a horse riding position, but also Zenkutsu, not dead straight, also Zenkutsu. Shi-go rock is a defensive motion. So another one, from Zenkutsu to Kokutsu, so the weight shift from front to the back. So because you can imagine, you wanted to make a distance from opponent. So big change to the back, to the move away. So any single form, Tenchiken or Giwaken, this is equal, same idea. When you're doing for offensive action, try to make a slightly heavy Zenkutsu position. And defensive action is opposite. Try to make a more Kokutsu position. Weight on the back is generally. That makes, for example, impression to the people who are watching your form is maybe the better impression. Because from clearly to make what he's doing, what purpose this action, is this offensive or defense? If body already to showing to the reinforce or pull back, for escape condition. So this is my simple advice. When you are offensive action, please make sure a little bit heavy Zenkutsu position is better. And defensive action, more big action to the pull back, make sort of distance from opponents.
Thank you, Sensei. Sensei, just as we're coming up to the 40-minute mark, I have seen a few more questions. I will need to update my Zoom subscription for future sessions, and I hope we get different content from different views as well. I can see here John mentioning I can make him a host. Hold on one second. Maybe I can change the problem here real quick. Otherwise, I'll have to reopen the. If it cuts out in a minute, then you will have to dial back in again. There's a few more questions if you're interested. I did pass it over to John. It might mean we don't have to, but it's just FYI, it might cut out in a minute, and we'll change that for the future. let's assume it keeps going. If not, I'll reopen the channel in a minute. There was a question from Ben. Ben, did you want to ask it directly? And I also saw something from Guy here.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Sensei. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
I was just interested. All our kata in Shorinji Kempo, like Tenchiken, are very short when you compare them with like karate kata. Some like 50, 60 steps in a karate kata, like knife hanshi or pinan. Why do you think Kempo ones are so short, only 6 or 7 steps?
It is even for karate kata. I have just started before the Kempo practice. I have a chance to study for short while of karate, but there is also short one like knife hanshi, shodan, or Shotokan people said is a tekki. Why karate has got a long action. So long movement, and Shorin Kempo is a bit short. Is it you're talking about?
That was my question. Yes.
Yeah. There is a. Did I answer about karate has got also short?
Yes,
Kata.
we had that part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. At tekki in the Shotokan people said. Or authentic style they call knife hanshi, the shodan is very short. No, there's not much different with the Tenchiken or Giwaken, but Kempo technique, the Kempo kata is generally a group of featuring is separated. Another one, Tenchiken has got the Tenchiken purpose. Giwaken has got a Giwaken movement and purpose. So that's why Kempo, each section of kata is quite simple, very simply, and perhaps more people can recognize the purpose of this kata itself, why this is necessary. You know, for when the Sodoshin was established these forms, maybe he wanted to make it clear what is the purpose of Tenchiken or Giwaken or Ryuoken, Byakurenken. There is all different sort of purpose. So that is perhaps main reason. With Kempo is quite each movement is quite simple. But if you continue to Tenchiken Daiichi to Dairoku, it's quite long. Don't you think so? It's not so short. So if you think about longer movement, possibly it's a good idea to continue to Daiichi to Dairoku, or even just Daiichi to Daiyon. Tenchiken series 1 to 4, Daisan Daiyon is very, very deeply connected. Another word, Daiichi is every single count is one action. Daini is 2 actions, each movement, each need. San, shigo, like this, two action. And Daisan is 3 action, first count, ichi, ni, san. And shigo. So number 4 is 4 action requirement, ichi, ni, san, shi. So like this, you know, for Daiichi number one to 4 is sort of count is added, and also tangeki, single attack, or rengeki, continuous double attack or 3 times. Those movement by count and follow, that is more simply you can study. That's why perhaps Tenchi-ken or Gyoken is divided quite short. Each what's called kata itself. Okay, then.
Thank you, Sensei. Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you.
And one more thing is, for example, like a Ryoken is like a Juho kata, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. So like a nukiwaza, releasing, and offensing. So combination movement is that's why. Generally, I'm talking about karate. They don't have any concern about the Juho movement itself. So that's why more spot for featuring point is focused to Kempo kata is developed, I think. This is my interpretation.
Thank you. Thank you, Sensei. Guy, you had a question that was, I think, quite interesting and interesting for most people as well.
Okay, so in the Fukudoku-hon, in Toku-hon, we have written form for the Tenchi-ken kata, Gyoken kata. Is there a written down version of the Shakujo kata, Ido and Ren?
We're making for now video, so we are going to plan to release for that. We expected, for this perhaps spring we can release to the for all members of Kenshi, but this corona situation changed our plan. We have already finished from all beginners to advanced of the technique, from beginners to 6 dan techniques. We started fast, beginners to fast Q. Then someone told me, Sensei, you better start from 6 dan, because you never know the guarantees. For the most of the great masters start from beginners to advanced technique, then they couldn't reach the 6 dan techniques. So I accepted that reason. That's why we start from 6 dan. 6th, 5th, 4th, we finished. Yeah. And 3 dan, 2 dan, 3rd dan, 2nd dan, Shodan, fast Q is still remain. But we are expected to finish January, February, but unfortunately, we couldn't do it.
So your video feed was cut out?
Disturbing. This one is from other. Yeah. So anyway, back to again normal. Sorry, yeah. So that's why we are planning to release in the near future. I can say near future. We're not finalized yet, but this is clearly our for planning to release to the member of ICA member of Kenshi. Is that okay?
We have another question from Dan Donovan. Dan?
Sure. I was just wondering, Sensei, about the doko. Why do we have it in Kempo, and why do we only have 1 doko no kata when we have 6 tenchi-ken?
You're talking about doko itself, or why we have a practice doko?
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think even for Dokoken is not teaching in Japan so regularly, or perhaps very rare. You know, for if I can comment, Doko itself, very, very difficult. This one, Doko. Can you see? So that is if you see, maybe 2-3 centimeters on top. But original of Doko idea is ceremonious tools. You know, for a monk to pray on the front of the Buddhas, and pray, and sort of like Tibetan Buddhism, they use this. But sometimes later on history, they carry of those things from one temple to another temple. And of course, those days, they're not so much civilized countries, or not so much police force is covered everywhere. Monks themselves, they have to be protected their own body. So they carry for this, but perhaps one day they are quite useful tools of self-defense. Not so much aggressive. If you carry like this, or even in a body, not so looks like Buddhist priest, Buddhist monk carrying weapons. It's a very bad image. So that's why it's quite short, very useful. In case very dangerous situation, if wild boars come, or monk, or gangs attack, they need to protect themselves. That's why they try to carry of those things. And why we practice this is not main single form is remainings. So we don't have a subject or on the syllabus to, you know, for teaching of Doko itself, Dokoken itself. You never see any syllabus subject Dokoken, but in a sort of occasion, like you attended last time for Cyprus seminar, leaders seminar, I thought maybe good chance to black belt levels of people can realize, or historically, why they call Doko and still practicing the Kempo. Perhaps is not correct answer, but for myself, my interpretation is I want, you know, for transfer to the next generation people like you. You know, for if I'm not teaching now, maybe not anybody, not many people to know about Doko itself. But if you learn to the Dokoken, then maybe somewhere in your mind, I have learned this sort of technique to very unique styles. And hopefully, you know, for you can remember and you can maybe practice at yourself. There is different style of another form, like here, Yokomuso, Sotoke. Yeah?
Thank you,
It's
Sensei.
okay, Dan.
Thank you. Just Sensei, I think we're coming up to the hour mark, and I would suggest we call it a day now. We have some classes actually beginning as well. Just quickly, Sammy was showing, in case you haven't noticed, Sammy was showing some other examples on his video feed. So if you can look into the other videos on the screen, you'll see Sammy has a very beautiful bell and Doko there on his desk. Thank you for sharing that, Sammy. Unless there are
I can't see Sami.
Unless there are any more questions right now, which I don't see any right now, I would suggest we call it a day here today. I would thank Mizuno Sensei first of all, and all of you for joining. The idea for this session on Sunday was to do something a bit special, something a bit out of the ordinary that we don't all usually train. Please feel free to feed through any topic questions or recommendations. And like we said, we're happy to share what we are doing. And equally the other way around, if you are running sessions, I think, and you would like to share it with other members of IKA of any way, shape, or form, please reach out to us, and we will maybe find a way to incorporate that and share that information with others as well. We are physically distancing, all of us, but that doesn't mean we can't be cooperating electronically. Does anybody have any last question or comment? I will give that a 5 count. It appears that everybody is happy, or the brains are full, or a combination of the two. I thank you all, and have a beautiful Sunday. Be safe, and see you soon, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good time.